Anas radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sufficient for you from the women of the worlds are Maryam bint Imran, Khadija bint Khuwailid, Fatima bint Muhammad, and Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun." In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Maryam bint Imran was the best woman of her time, and Khadija bint Khuwailid was the best woman of her time. These were women who had perfected their iman. Khadija bint Khuwailid was the daughter of the chief of Banu Asad. Khuwailid had defended the Kaaba in the story of Al-Fil, and he was close to Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ. Khuwailid was a successful businessman whose wealth and talents were inherited by Khadija. Before Islam, women were treated like cattle, like commodity. They were used and abused by men. There were no rights to protect women. At a time like this, Khadija bint Khuwailid emerges as a successful, strong, and independent businesswoman. She was what we would call a CEO. Khadija got married young to a merchant named Abu Hala. They had two children. But Abu Hala died soon, and Khadija married a man named Atiq ibn Aziz. They had a daughter, but their marriage didn't last long. Soon, her father Khuwailid also passed away. Then she took over the family business. She was smart, confident, elegant, and pure mannered. She never worshipped idols. She was raised in such an elegant manner that she was popularly known as Tahira, the pure one. She never backbited, never lied, or hurt anyone or upset anyone. At the age of 25, she had already been widowed twice. She was such a successful businesswoman that her business expanded so much that half of the trade in Mecca was through Khadija. Her caravan's size was equal to all the other caravans in Mecca put together. She was the wealthiest woman in Mecca. Many of Mecca's elite men proposed to her for marriage, but she didn't like their quality, their character. She resolved not to marry again and to live an independent life. She decided to devote her time and energy to business. There was a green silk pavilion above the roof of her house. This was not a sign of her wealth, but a sign for the poor and needy to know where to go for help. So she was a philanthropist, and she was known for her generosity. She was so wealthy that she had more than 400 servants at one point. Hence, she was known as Amirat Quraysh, Princess of Quraysh, and Khadija al-Kubra, Khadija the Great, because of the status that she maintained. Now, how did the Prophet ﷺ come into the picture? Khadija's sister Hala had employed Muhammad ﷺ as a shepherd for her sheep. At this time, the Prophet was around 18 years old. Hala once told Khadija, "I have never seen a man who is so humble, shy, noble, and chaste like him." This statement put Muhammad ﷺ on Khadija's mind because she was looking for someone to work for her as a caravan manager. Khadija never personally embarked on her business trips, and the men who she had employed took advantage of her generosity and humility. So she was always looking for an honest and intelligent caravan manager. So she offered Muhammad ﷺ to take her caravan on a journey to Syria, and she sent her servant Maisara to observe his conduct. When the caravan returned, Khadija was surprised to see that the income had doubled. So she asked Maisara of what he had observed. Maisara replied, "Muhammad is the most honest and trustworthy person I have ever seen. He even made sure the animals get their share of rest throughout the journey. He cared for them personally, and when it came to business, he was quick to notice opportunity, but he never lied, cheated, or inflated the price." Khadija was impressed by his character, and she wanted to know him more intimately. And Allah put something in her heart for the Prophet ﷺ. She was one of the first people to truly recognize that this man was unique and special. Now, Khadija had a friend named Nafisa. Khadija told her how she felt about the Prophet ﷺ, and Nafisa said, "Why don't you marry him?" So Khadija asked her to find out whether he'll be interested. Now, Nafisa goes to the Prophet ﷺ and she asks him indirectly, "Why aren't you married yet?" The Prophet ﷺ replies, "I won't be able to financially look after someone, and also I have to take care of my family." Now, if you remember, he was living in the house of his uncle Abu Talib, and although Abu Talib was a respected man in Mecca, he was poor and had many children to look after. So Nafisa said, "What if I tell you of a woman who doesn't need to be looked after? Instead, she will provide for you financially." And the Prophet ﷺ asked, "What do you mean?" So Nafisa says, what do you think about Khadija? The Prophet is surprised and he asks, well, why would she be interested in me? So Nafisa goes back to Khadija and Khadija sends her with a marriage proposal for the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, okay, but I need to get my uncle's blessings first. So Abu Talib blesses the wedding and their marriage is conducted by Waraqa, Khadija's cousin. So At-Tahira, the pure one, got married to Al-Amin, the trustworthy. Now, in these days, it is not very common for a woman to send a marriage proposal. Imagine what it must have been like back then. But Khadija was not afraid of society. She was a trendsetter. At the time of marriage, Khadija radiallahu anha was 40 and the Prophet was 25. They were married for 25 years, out of which 15 were before the revelation. These 15 years were the happiest years of the Prophet's life. They both had 6 children, Al-Qasim, Abdullah, Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima. Apart from these, there were other children in the household. 3 from Khadija's previous marriages, along with Ali radiallahu anh and Zayd ibn Haritha. So the Prophet spent these 15 years raising the children, doing housework, and loving and being loved. Through his marriage to Khadija, the Prophet's place in society changed significantly. It gave him access to elites which would later be useful for him for da'wah. It gave him an honorable position in society. Now, in his late 30s, the Prophet ﷺ started seeing dreams that would become true, that is, true dreams, for 6 months. And Allah put in him a sudden longing for solitude. So he would take a spiritual retreat to the mountain and he would ask Khadija radiallahu anha for permission, and she never stopped him from going. She never said, why do you have to go all the way to the mountain? This is a pretty big house. You can have a whole room to yourself if you want. You have responsibilities here. No, she didn't say any of that. She understood and respected her husband's need for seclusion. In fact, she went out of her way to make sure he had all comforts, even in the cave. She was 55 years old by now and she would pack food herself. She would personally go all the way up the mountain and deliver him food and blankets over there. Now, Khadija was a very busy and rich person. She could have easily paid someone to go and deliver the stuff to him. But she took the long journey, climbed the cave, which was an hour's climb from the bottom of the mountain, when she's 55 years old. And this was all because of the love that she had for him. And women started mocking her, saying, oh, you've given so much to your husband, but he still stays away from you for days on end. But this never changed Khadija's mind. She understood her husband better than any other human. Now, when the Prophet ﷺ received revelation, he was frightened and terrified. Now just imagine the scenario. He is running down the mountain through the streets of Mecca and he comes running to the house of Khadija. Not to the house of his best friend Abu Bakr or his father figure Abu Talib, but to Khadija, because he knew that no one can provide the comfort and reassurance that Khadija can. As soon as he enters the home, he's shaking, he's sweating, and Khadija radiallahu anha is alarmed because she's never seen her husband in such a state. The Prophet ﷺ says, cover me, and Khadija doesn't ask anything. She just puts her arms around him, holds him and comforts him ﷺ. When the Prophet ﷺ stopped shaking, he says to her, what is wrong with me? I think I'm possessed. I saw the one who came in my sleep. Now at this crucial moment, Khadija could have said anything. She could have said, you shouldn't be staying for such long durations in the cave all alone. No, the first word she says, Kalla, of course not. Allah would never disgrace you. Allah would never humiliate a person who maintains good relations with his kin, and you only speak words of truth, and you help the poor and needy, and you entertain your guests. And she said, I have confidence in you. I hope that this is a sign that you are a prophet. Khadija was the first person to actually believe in him. She believed in him when even he didn't believe in himself. So she took him to her cousin Waraqa, who was a Christian priest. Waraqa said that this being that you saw was the same being who appeared to Moses. So now this revelation means that the days of ease are over. You have to buckle up for a hard mission. Now months passed and the Prophet ﷺ did not receive a revelation. So he got worried, but Khadija radiallahu anha always comforted him. When the second revelation came, the Prophet ﷺ again saw Jibreel alayhi salam, and again he went running to Khadija. While he was in the arms of Khadija radiallahu anha, Allah revealed Surah Al-Mudaththir to him. Ya ayyuhal mudaththir, O you who is covered up, rise up and warn. So the Prophet ﷺ said to Khadija, You are the first person that I am calling to this message. And Khadija radiallahu anha replied, and I am the first person to accept your message. The Prophet ﷺ made his first wudu and his first prayer with Khadija. He made his first tawaf with her and he prayed qiyam with her. Now, Khadija used her fortune, her business ties, and connections for the ummah to the point that she got bankrupted. And the status and honor that she had in society was suddenly taken away from her. Khadija radiallahu anha was the Prophet's greatest asset. She was his primary advisor, his source of comfort and support. She provided financial support to the Muslims. Her house was open to all Muslims who needed help. And she was playing the role of a mother for her children as well. She bore all the burden without ever complaining because she knew that although she is going through hardship, her husband is going through even worse. And she relieved her husband's stress to a great extent. All of Khadija radiallahu anha's wealth and energy was spent in da'wah, in spreading the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in freeing the slaves who had become Muslim, in feeding, sheltering the weak Muslims. And then came the 3-year boycott. It was a boycott of the tribes of Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib. Now, Khadija belonged to neither of those tribes, so technically she could have avoided the boycott. She could have stayed outside the ghetto and supported her husband from there. But she insisted on staying with the Prophet ﷺ. Now, she had some connections on the outside, which she used to sneak in food into the area. But she would distribute all of that food among other people, and she herself ate grass. A woman who lived all her life in wealth and luxury had to now survive on grass. And she never complained. She happily endured all the hardships. She was 65 years old and the boycott was taking its toll on her. Once Jibreel alayhi salam visited the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet introduced him to Khadija saying, "This is Jibreel. He is here to convey Allah's salam to you." And Jibreel gives his salam to you and good news of a palace in Jannah made of pearls where there will be no noise, no hardship. And Khadija replied saying, Allah is the source of all peace, and peace be on Jibreel, and peace be upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khadija was the first person to get Allah's salam. One day when the Prophet ﷺ was being abused by the Meccans, he went to Ta'if to call the people towards Islam. And he returned almost stoned to death. And he comes back and he finds that Khadija radiallahu anha is no more. This was the worst day in the Prophet's life. The Prophet himself buried her into her grave. He held that body for the last time, the body that had become frail due to the sacrifices and hardships, the person who had always comforted him when he needed it. Ammar ibn Yasir states that after the death of Khadija radiallahu anha, we feared for the Prophet. We felt that he was going to die very soon due to the grief. The Prophet ﷺ used to be heard weeping loudly in his house at night after her death. When he used to see her sister Hala, they used to sit and talk about Khadija radiallahu anha for hours and hours. Aisha radiallahu anha narrated that not a day passed by when the Prophet didn't mention Khadija. He wouldn't leave the house in the morning without mentioning Khadija. Once the Prophet ﷺ was talking about Khadija, and Aisha got jealous and she said, "Why do you keep mentioning her? She is long dead. Has Allah not given you someone way better?" At this, the Prophet ﷺ became angry. His facial expressions changed. And he said, "No, Allah has not replaced her with anyone better. She believed in me when people rejected me. She gave me financial support when people denied me their money. Allah gave me children through her and not through anyone else." At the time of Badr, Zainab, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, her husband Abul As was taken prisoner by the Muslims. He was a disbeliever at that time. So Zainab sent some of her jewelry to ransom him. That jewelry included a necklace that Khadija radiallahu anha had given to Zainab. When this necklace reached the Prophet ﷺ at the time of Badr, he saw it and started crying. The Sahaba didn't know why he was crying. After a while, the Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba, "Free Abul As and give Zainab this necklace back." At the time of Fatah Makkah, the companions were asking the Prophet ﷺ which house he wanted to stay in. There were big houses and he had many options, but he pitched his tent next to the grave of Khadija radiallahu anha. No one could ever really replace Khadija in the Prophet ﷺ's heart. No one could ever fill that hole that was left behind due to her absence. Khadija radiallahu anha birthed this ummah. It is because of her sacrifices and support to the Prophet ﷺ that we are where we are today.